Hi, and welcome to the Step Outside series brought to you by the School of Natural Resources at the UT Institute of Agriculture. For this episode, I spoke to master's student Caleb Moses about his research on reintroducing native mussels to Abrams Creek in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park.
This is called a slipper shell. This is a Lasmodon viridis. This is one of the species that we are reintroducing currently.
What are we doing out here?
Well, we came out to try and do a survey site. That kind of fell through, but we were able to come out and check my silos and cages that are holding mussels in Abrams Creek to do a long-term survey on how they do with reintroduction here.
Why did you want to do this project?
This is actually like the third project that I've done on Abrams Creek, so I love it here. This is one of my favorite rivers in the southeast in general. And I started getting interested in mussels around a year or so after I graduated from my undergrad. And then this opportunity came along to work with helping the Park Service to restore the mussel community here.
Could you talk about the history of Abrams Creek?
So Abrams Creek flows through Cades Cove. That's where it's like in the area where its headwaters originate. And it flows through several limestone layers there, so it's a very diverse stream. Lots of algae, lots of macrophytes, lots of insects, and that makes a lot of fish diversity, produces a lot of fish diversity here. And so in the 1950s, Abrams Creek was chosen to become a trophy trout stream. And to accomplish that, they decided to remove all of the native fish species here. And so they road-known from Abrams Falls down to what was then the Little Tennessee River and killed all the native fish off. And then later that same year, Chilhowie Dam was completed, which prevented any natural recolonization of the native fish species here. And so mussels require fish to complete their life cycle. And so when the fish went, the mussels pretty soon after followed. The fish have fortunately been restored. Several populations that were thought to be made extinct by that treatment were found in several sister streams nearby and have been restored here. So now we can start looking at putting mussels back now that that part of their life cycle has been restored.
What role does a fish play in a mussel's life cycle?
Mussels require a fish host to reproduce. So to kind of the start of the cycle, female mussels will make either a lure or something that looks like a food packet, or just really anything to entice their preferred fish host. That usually entices the fish to come up close to the mussel or to eat her packet of Glochidia. And the end goal is for the mussel Glochidia or juvenile young to attach to the fish's gills and fins and other areas that carry blood through the fish, and they attach and insist onto the fish and will ride it for about 3 weeks or so. It kind of depends on the species. There's a pretty wide range of how long they'll stay on, but they feed on the fish's blood for that time and draw nutrition from the fish to grow, and then fall off, begin to grow in the substrate and filter feed, and then the cycle starts all over. It's a rainbow mussel. It's a juvenile.
Are you hoping to continue this research after you graduate?
Yes, I love working with mussels, so I really am aiming to continue to work with mussels in the future, whether that be as a malacologist or just as someone who is helping to manage mussel populations somewhere. That's all I'm aiming for, is for my next position to really work with mussels in some capacity.
If you had to explain to someone why mussels are important, what would you say?
There's a lot of directions I could go with that, and I'm kind of biased because I love mussels. But I mean, mussels are really an intrinsic part of our ecosystem here. They're a valuable part of what makes up our biodiversity here in the southeast. And they're something that not a lot of people would expect to be here. When you go start digging around and showing people mussels from the river, like that just looks like a rock. Like that doesn't really look like a living thing, but they're very much alive and have this crazy, unique life cycle that they go through. Tennessee has around 139 species, which you really wouldn't expect. But there's an insane amount of diversity. From a management aspect, they're a valuable indicator species, because whereas species of fish and crayfish and even other mollusks can move out of the way, mussels are pretty well sedentary. They're pretty well stuck in place, so they can't move out of the way of pulse pollutants or a wide range of things affect them, but they will more reliably indicate something's wrong in a stream, whereas other species could just move out of the way of a pollutant. And then, I mean, culturally, if you look back, they've been important to people for a really long time. They appear in like spiritual art. They were money at one point. So, there's a whole long history to them. But now, they're just important because they're there, and, our aquatic biodiversity is worth preserving. This is kind of work that, needs to be done for a broad range of organisms. Mussels are not the only ones that need help. So that's something I like to tell people is, even if you're not interested in mussels, this needs to happen. This type of work needs to happen for crayfish, for snails, for birds, for lizards, for, if it's something you're interested in, there's projects like this that are there to be done. So it's important work, and, regardless of what you do it with, it's meaningful and valuable and worth doing.